Hi, welcome back to Healing Hearts and Honest Conversations. I'm Maria.
And I'm Veronica.
Today we're going to talk about some of our toxic thinking that we might take into our relationships.
Yes. So anytime we are in a relationship or seeking a relationship, I think sometimes we start to fantasize about things, right? Or our expectations might not be realistic at times.
And sometimes not even related to the person that we're trying to get a relationship with.
Right.
Like we have expectations without even having a conversation.
That is true.
Right?
Yes. And then I think also too, with that comes the stuff that's been unresolved from past relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't even, I don't think it necessarily has to be like intimate relationships. I think it's just relationships in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all that baggage that we didn't deal with is going to come into other relationships, and then we're going to question it. But then sometimes we go looking for certain things, and then we go all in, and then we're just disappointed because it's not what we expected. So some of the things that we can address is things we've heard people say, or even like we were talking earlier during dinner, is like things like our parents used to tell us, or sayings that we would hear. Right.
Yeah.
And I think the first one we can talk about is the one that all you need is love, right?
Oh yes, that's it. You just need to love each other.
And in my head, as soon as that I said that, I'm thinking like I'm gonna, when people do marriage vows, I'm gonna, I don't know, I've never been married, so I love you. No, that's not how it goes. Through sickness and health, right? And so I'm thinking love, that's sometimes how people would view it, right? Love is all you need, and if they can love you through all this, then that's all you need. But that's not all you need.
No.
Right? Because my dogs love me.
That's true. Right? That's true.
And it's like, what is love all that we need? And again, the person's going to define what that is, right? Now, would we want love in a relationship?
Well, yeah, it's one of the ingredients of any relationship, I think.
Yeah, but I think we also get it confused with love is like, I don't know, like what people might do for us or what they can give us versus what we need. So more like the wants, right? And I think sometimes love can be seen as materialistic. So like, love is all you need. So whatever you grew up being role model what love is, and then that's toxic thinking of that's what love is, and you feel like, okay, well that's sufficient enough for me to stick through this relationship, even if it's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, because we like, oh, because I love him, I can change him. Right?
Oh, yes.
And so sometimes I think like the love leads to other, because our definition of love is a little skewed, or maybe at sometimes unhealthy, that it leads to other toxic thinking.
Yeah, which then leads to us dismissing the red flags. Right? Because I don't know, maybe it's a female thing, but I mean, if we have any males who watch this, they can, definitely chime in and challenge that, because we don't have a male here to compare notes with, right? But I feel like because we're females, and again, just my opinion, with females, because we're nurturers, we're more emotionally involved, right? Or what's the other word I wanted? Invested, emotionally, right? Invested, that love, like, because we love the person so much that with our love, that should be enough for them to want to change, to want to treat us with respect, and not ever cheat on us, because you'll never find love like mine.
Right.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Yes.
Because in my thinking, sometimes I would think that way. It's like, no one's gonna ever love you the way I did. Right? And then I've heard, even males say that to females, right? Like, no one's ever gonna love you the way I did.
Right.
Well, you're right. They're gonna love me different. Or at least that's the expectation, right? Especially if they're like an ex, you would want better, right?
You better, but yeah, I think that the whole thing, like, oh well, I love them, they will change, or they will do this for me, or because we love each other, we're soulmates, like that whole thing. Like, I don't think that either. I don't necessarily think that either.
If we're soulmates, things are going to be perfect. There's not going to be any disagreeing. There's not going to be any conflict. But no matter what connection you have with the person, you're not going to always see eye to eye.
Right, you're not going to agree on everything.
Yeah, because, you're perfect, Maria, and sometimes you don't see eye to eye. And I'm just giving the audience an example. Like, you could be perfect, but we can still not see eye to eye. We can agree to disagree, or we can compromise.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
See?
And none of those are, I think, okay, because we talked about this before, I think Tanya was with us when we talked about it, about the definition of love and looking the whole, love is patient, love is kind. And I think that is probably a better definition to think about, what are acts of love or acts of service. So it's not all the butterflies and he just told me everything about his life and so I love him. I don't think that, but I do think it gets communicated in other ways. But I think, because we talked about it at dinner, some of the stuff that we were told, though, growing up about, why did it not work? What did you do?
Yeah.
What did you do to make it not work? Yeah.
Or not fulfilling his needs.
Right.
That's why he wandered off, right?
If you would have kept him happy, he would have stayed home. But yeah.
And it's no, the fucker likes to wander.
Yes.
Or what I was told is I gave you too much freedom.
Right? What is
too
much
freedom? Thank you, Daddy.
Right? Oh my goodness. But I remember watching, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was a comedy one. And every morning or whatever, she would go around and measure her body and make sure her body was perfect, the perfect size, so that her husband wouldn't wander.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So it would still love her.
Right.
Yeah. I remember years ago, obviously, this was teenage. This, more late teen, early 20, I was already adult age, right? That there was a guy that I dated when I was a teenager, and I felt he was still stuck in when we were 15. And I had already matured and grew up, and he was just still stuck in that, whatever his, things that he went through. But he was I laugh at it now because I'm God, I'm such a bitch. He wanted to be with me, and I'm you and I have two totally different lives. I don't support your way of living, because it was totally extreme to the point of it involved illegal things and all that, and I'm no, that's not what I'm about, right? And so he was telling me how much he loved me, and my love is going to be everything that you need. You don't need nothing else but my love. And then I was well, love ain't gonna pay my fucking bills. He started crying. I'm all, why are you fucking crying? Your love isn't gonna I was so mean, but then in my head I was thinking no, love doesn't fix everything. Love doesn't make things right. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't support me. It doesn't do all this stuff, right? And now that we're bringing it up, it's gosh, even as a teenager, these were things. And then the other thing as a teenager, right? I don't know if you've experienced this, but when the girls got together, or friend groups, whatever, and we were talking about oh, he said he loved me, so then I had sex with him, right? And then that was that toxic thinking, because he didn't love you, and the guys would say that is I love you, all to get up in your pants, and then the next day they're bye, and then they move on to the next one. Right. Yeah. And so I think we, even as adults, sometimes we get that still confused with certain people, or even men who may not be mature enough, or women that I feel when we're in that low, that loneliness, and we want somebody, or even if we're because I was looking at something earlier about anxious, when people have that anxious attachment, and then I won't talk about the avoidant, but more the anxious attachment. If guy or girl says, I love you, they're gonna latch on to that, right? Because it's oh my God, they love me, that must mean they're gonna be with me forever.
Because they complete me.
yes, that's that.
They complete
like,
me.
Hurt me, you complete me. I used to hear that. Do you hear that? I used to hear that a lot, and now, as I'm older and have been single for a while, and I'm like, God, all this stuff is just a bunch of bullshit. Shit we tell ourselves to make it okay to still deal with other shit that, whether it's the guy or the girl that's dishing it out and we're taking it in. Because I also think, like, as women, we want to be the fixers and take care
of course,
right? We want to take care because, you know, obviously, let's say old school ways is like the man works, the woman takes care of the kids and the household, so you have to take care of everybody, right? And your husband. And so then that way of thinking sometimes still, I feel sometimes it might interfere with some of my way of thinking as well, but then sometimes what I do is I end up self-sabotaging because I rebel against that.
Right.
Because I'm like, no one's gonna control me.
Right.
No, like, you know, if you tell me like love is gonna make everything right, no, it's not.
No. Mm-mm.
Right? And it's like, because sometimes you'll hear a kid, like, I know I've heard kids say, oh, you're just telling me you love me because you have to, because I'm your kid.
Right.
Like, no, I don't like you.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna tolerate you, but I still love you.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
And I think the difference too is like loving somebody, and what the unconditional love is. Oh, conditional love and unconditional.
Yes.
Right? If you do X, Y, Z, that is conditional love.
Right.
Right? Like, if you don't complete me, then that's not unconditional. Right? And I feel like sometimes we get these things confused, that the person that we're with, that once we define whatever love is, right? That our way of thinking is like, this person is everything to me.
Right.
And if they were to leave or something was to happen, like, I'll never find love like this again.
I'll never be happy again.
Yeah. Or if he leaves, like, you know, my life, what would I do by myself? Yes. Yeah, so we get into the dramatics, right?
Yes.
And one of the other things is, which I know I've thought about this, is like love should be effortless. I've thought about this in my experience, but then, because I do a lot of self-sabotaging, right? So I had to learn a lot of stuff. No, it does take effort.
Yeah.
You have to work at it. It just doesn't, like, you're together for 6 months, whatever, and then the I love yous come, and it's like, you assume that in my experience, I assume that the person loves me the way I love them or how I think I love them. But now it's like, no, let's dig in a little bit. Like, well, what is it that you love about me? Right? And vice versa, right?
Right.
Because when things start to go bad, or let's say when you're in a long-term relationship, we forget those things.
Right.
And so to find the chemistry again, right, and to continue to create that connection, we have to figure out, like, why did we fall in love with this person in the first place?
Right. It can't just be because they complete me.
And they're my soulmate.
No.
Like, what is
I
that?
think that's a good point, and it goes back to that love is about actions. And I think, like, okay, so for me, like, when I was married and at first, which it sounds dumb when I'm gonna say it, but like when he would say, like, well, here's the things that I need, I was like, oh, well, at least he's telling me what he needs. But then it turned into like almost like impossible demands, and I just kept saying, like, oh, well, he's trying to fix things, and but he wasn't really trying to fix things, because it was all about, like, you're not enough, and if you would do this, then I would love you, or then I would stay with you, or then I would, you know, whatever.
Then you'd be worthy of my time and my love.
Right. So it just got very, like, skewed, where it turned from he's trying to fix things to it just wasn't his to fix, it was just mine to fix. But then in my brain I was like, well, no, because he loves me, blah, 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 you know what I mean? But there was nothing about what he was doing that was love. And so that's why I'm like, I think, like, I've learned that it is about actions. And like we were talking earlier, I was like, I'm spoiled now. Like and
the bar has raised.
Right. And so I think I think like as I've gotten older, the like toxic thinking that used to allow me to excuse bad behavior like is like chipping away, because it's not, people don't request those things because they're trying to fix things. They're requesting it just because you're not enough the way that you are, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like it when it's like demands. And I'm not saying like, hey Veronica, can you go get, take the car in for an oil change? I just can't do it today. I'm not saying that kind of stuff. I'm saying, like, changing the way, like, well, because in the end I was doing everything, like picking up Shanti and, buying the groceries and doing the laundry and cleaning the house and mowing the yard and like, so it was
everything.
So it was like,
that's a lot.
Right, but that's not love.
Right, that's not love. And I think that sometimes when you have friend groups, right, because I think that thinking back to when I was younger, a lot younger, let's say early 20s, that my friend group, and then we would find a partner or whatever, a boyfriend, that you would be with your friends and enjoying yourself, right? And then you find this boyfriend or this guy, right? And then you guys start dating, and then little by little, no more interactions with the friends, right? Or they're like, I love you, we need to spend more time. I just want to spend all this time because I love being with you, and you're everything that I've been looking for, and all this stuff, right? And so then when it doesn't work out, or let's say you bring them around your friends and you introduce them, like in my experience, like my friends would be like, oh, he's not good for you because XYZ, but we have blinders on,
right?
And that toxic, right? The toxic thinking. We're like, oh, they're just not happy because they don't have somebody, right?
Right, or they're just jealous.
They're just jealous, right? But I wouldn't tell my friends that, because I'm like, well, they mean well, but they don't know him like I do.
Yes! I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing
at me.
Yeah.
Because that's the toxic thinking.
Yes.
Like, but they just don't know him the way I do. Like, he is a really good guy when we're in private.
Right. When we're alone.
When we're alone, but he's such a dick in public, right? Or at least that's what the friends were saying, right? Like, oh, he's such a dick. He's over there womanizer, looking at other women or whatever, right? And it's like the blinders, right? And we try to convince ourselves, like, this is just a one-time thing or whatever. Or he can look, but he can't touch, right?
Right.
Or like, he doesn't mean anything by that, right? That wandering eye. Right. There's several of those wandering eyes, right? And then it's like, once you're no longer in that relationship, then we're able to reflect back and be like, oh my God, they were so right.
Right.
Or like, oh, I remember I used to think like he didn't know, he never did anything wrong, that, oh my God, I was just such an idiot.
Right.
Right. And then all we do is put ourselves down for choosing, right? We were talking about this a couple episodes before, is like our pickers are broken.
Yes. Yes. I know, we put ourselves down like there's something wrong with us.
Yeah, and as coming into adulthood, or even probably like in teenager, but late, early adulthood, it was like our picker was based on our hormones. It's like how I feel today is who I'm gonna pick, right? And I think sometimes, like when people are in their whatever they call their prime, right? That I think maybe our pickers get confused with our hormones. Because then it comes into good sex doesn't mean a good relationship.
That's
or
right.
Love,
That's right.
Because you could have the best sex with someone, but they could be a shitty partner.
Yes.
And that's when you have them as friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Or now that the stupid term, which I hate, situationship.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
It's like, sure, we could be in a relationship, but I don't want to label it. I'm not about labels. Oh my God, this is I'm just giving you this.
I know.
So my ex, when he got into a relationship, and I'm like, oh, so is it serious? And he's like, well, I don't want to label anything. I was like, couple months later, he's engaged. What the fuck you call that? Like, you still don't want to label it?
Oh my goodness.
But now thinking back, did he tell me that just in case it
Keep
didn't
the door
work
open.
out?
Mhm.
And here
Yes.
I'm like, he ain't trying to claim her. Like, and this is when I was still in that little hope.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, he'll come back to me because he won't ever find anyone like me, and that's still a fact.
That is true. Yes.
But no one that's gonna love and take care of him the way I do,
Mhm.
right? Well, maybe somebody would, but no, he won't ever find anyone
Like you.
as exciting and happy going.
Yes.
Driven.
Yes.
Let
All
me
very
toot my
true.
horn. Toot toot.
All very true.
But that's the thing is, like, when nowadays I'm like, we're grown adults. Why are people like, you know, in these, like, I don't want to label it, but that's because they're trying to look for the next best thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they dismiss something that could be really good,
right,
to find the next best thing, which in my mind I'm like the next piece of ass,
right.
Because when I was dating guys, I was like, okay, these guys just want one thing,
Mm-hmm.
or at least some of them did, right? And then the other ones I was like and I'm like, because I was self-sabotaging, and plus I'm like, oh, I'm finding my picker's bad is looking for these unavailable individuals. So I think that, you know, we get those things confused too, is that when we talked about 2 episodes ago about chemistry versus connection
Mm-hmm.
and compatibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it goes back to the good sex is or great sex, good sex, whatever, or your best sex, whatever. Doesn't mean that that's going to be your partner for life,
right?
Or that the person is going to love you the way you feel you deserve to be loved, or they, you know, like you said, you're spoiled now, right? Which I think we all deserve to be that, whether you're male or female, but both spoiling each other and making sure that to remind them in whatever way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever our love language is, that, you know, they are worthy of not only our love, but love, just love in general. Yeah. And that, you know, whatever we're doing together, we're going to want to do it to make each other or to make sure that we're both happy.
Right.
Because I feel like sometimes too we get it confused where I'm only happy when I'm with him. And then when it doesn't work out, it's like I'm not gonna ever be happy again. Just like, oh, I'll never love anyone,
Mm-hmm.
like, right?
Yes.
It's like, but we can't depend on that person to make us happy. We have to be able to be alone and be happy with ourselves, and that's
right.
a lot. Like for a lot of people,
that's hard.
It's really hard because, you know, me, for myself, I was like work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I could work by myself and be happy, but then when it was like when I had to be alone and not be working, that's when it became really hard. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't be alone with my toxic thinking. Like, I need the person here to comfort me and be like, it's gonna be okay, right? And but then as I, you know, working through all that, I'm great being by myself.
Right.
Right, and I think that was another thing we brought up today at dinner is like people are saying like nowadays it's like the single life is like the best life. Right? Not to say that you can't have your best life with a partner, but I think from when I was in my 20s to now, I feel like this is my best life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have like, I'm happy where I'm at. I don't have to like take anyone really into consideration of decisions that I'm gonna make, because it's just me running my show, right? Running the show, or my roost, right? And you know, obviously, when you have a partner, you got to take them into consideration. And that's not a bad thing, but in terms of we have to learn how to be by ourselves, because then we become dependent on being with somebody.
Right.
That then we're making bad decisions or picking our pickers, right, based on how we're feeling. Like we feel alone, we want to fill that void, so then we find any random, right? And it could be like, oh, and they could be like the hottest guy ever, but he has nothing. He's nothing to provide, nothing to give, nothing to offer, and it's just, oh, let's say it's good sex, but there's nothing other than that. So I think we have to also think about like, how do we love ourselves?
Yeah. I think like being married, I forgot to do the things, or I don't know. Anyways, I didn't do the things that I like to do, or I wasn't spending time with the people that I wanted to spend time with, and I think that is a plus to being single, or even like being with the right person, because I do see like other couples where like we hang out with the wife and she's allowed to come with us and we're allowed to do stuff, you know what I mean? And it doesn't, and he like never holds her back. And I see that too, like with my sister too, like my brother-in-law doesn't hold her back. She does not whatever she wants, like she just runs things. They still do things together, but she like doesn't ever really like miss out on anything. If she wants to go, she goes. If she can't go because they have something together, she doesn't. But I mean, yeah, so I think like that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that, because I think that makes it for a healthier relationship, because you have time together and then time apart, and then with your own friends, and then time by yourselves. Because like, having, let's say you have a hobby, he has a hobby, being able to, so like let's say your partner enjoys going to the gym, right? And let's say you like, I don't know, painting or something. I don't know, I'm just gonna make something up. And so each of you are spending your alone time doing the things you like. And yes, there could be a thing that you guys create together, hobbies together that you do together, right? So let's say like you guys like camping, or you guys like doing road trips and things like that. But being able to find that balance instead of it just being one person, one-sided, right? Where it's all about this person, whatever this person does. Because I know like in my previous relationship there was...
So the thing about like, it's about one person and taking care of that one person, that's like totally like, I want to say Mexican thinking, but it is. It's like they're there to like take care of the husband and whatever the husband needs and whatever that they need and whatever they want you to do and whatever.
Like serve them, pick up after them, clean after them, do all that. I'm surprised it wasn't like bathe them and...
I know.
But then if you think about it, it's like, I'm already somebody's mom. I don't want to be your mom.
Right. But that's kind of how they...
I think that's the mentality.
Yes.
Like if we really think about it, it's like we're being their mom still.
Right. And it was always like, and I used to think about it like because the man works so hard, then the woman should take care of them. But I think like underscoring that whole thing or not giving credit to like what the women were doing in the house or out of the house or with the kids or whatever. It was always like the man working hard. Anyways, that was just part of the toxic thinking. That was part of the toxic thinking I was thinking about. Like that's still in my brain, like to like service them. And for sometimes it's just like automatic. Like you're just supposed to like, it's your job to take care of them automatically. Like to have somebody take care of me is not even, I mean, like we talk about it like, oh, we want someone to take care of us and like, make sure everything's good. But then we have a hard time when they do. Allowing it to happen because we were raised different, the opposite.
Yeah. And what I was also thinking is that, and I don't know if you've experienced this growing up or just, watching people, but like in the Latino culture, it's like the man will criticize the woman's body, but I rarely ever seen the woman criticizing the man's body, and they get some beer guts.
Yes.
And fupas.
But no.
But I don't know what they call it for men. Dupas? I don't know. Fudak?
I don't know. But yes, very true. Very true.
So, and it's like, you're still not good enough, even though you had all my kids, you serve me, right? You take care of the house, you make sure that at this time, when I get home, food's done, my clothes is washed and ironed and pressed, whatever. And yet I'm going to be like, you're fat, and look at how you look. You didn't even shave your legs, or you didn't even comb your hair. Like, Right? And so I would be like, I'm thinking like, dang, when would the woman have time to do any of that? When she's taking care of all the kids, cleaning the house, doing laundry, and whatever else that, he's not doing.
That's why the single life is good.
That's right, because I take care of all of it. And I'm like, ooh, girl, got it.
And I tell myself I look good. No, I think like it's very hard to get out of that thinking, being around it like your whole life, to get out of that thinking about like you're supposed to serve other people. Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, and then fix everything, right?
And fix everything.
If it was broken, whatever it was, right, then it was your fault.
Yes.
I just thought of something.
Especially the relationship.
Oh my God. This is why I was an enabler for my children. Because I just thought of that. It's like, because we were raised to be fixers, and if it was broken, it was because it was our fault, like the woman's fault, the mom's fault, right? And so, man, that just made me realize that, because I would enable my kids so much, that it was because I felt like if I don't fix it, then it's my fault. It's a thing I learned today.
Yeah.
It's their own shit. They screw
yes.
And yes. Again, that toxic thinking, and we tend to blame ourselves or feel like this is what we deserve, right? Because either we weren't shown differently, or people have told us that, this is enough for us,
right?
Or you're not going to get any better than this. I was talking to someone who talked about, like, she got pregnant, and she was, a young teenage mom, or like, teenager in terms of like adult teenager, like 18, 19, and she had problems with her partner cheating and whatnot, so she split from him. And then the mom would tell her constantly, you're not going to ever find anybody who's going to want you with a kid.
Right.
Yes. And so she kept that in mind as like, well, who's going to want me? I have a kid now, right? And so she said when she was talking to she befriended a guy or whatever, and then her mom's like, oh, he's a good one. And he likes you, so you need to marry him because no one else is going to want you. He's the only one. And so she was telling me how this continued to repeat.
Oh my goodness.
And she's like, and then I was like, well, he's not the kind of guy I want or whatever, right? There's no compatibility. And then there was another guy who the mom knew and knew the family or whatever, and picked and was like, you need to date this guy. He's good for you because he will accept you with the kid. No one else will. So it was like, oh. So it was this repeated pattern over and over that she was like, all I kept hearing is like, no one's going to want me because I have a child, that I'm not good enough. And so when she did find someone who she chose, like, and who loved her for who she was, even with a kiddo, and he grew to love the kid and even wanted to adopt the kid after they got married, she was like fearful to allow that to happen because then it would be hers and his kid, and he's always been her kid, right? And so it's like, are you going to take him away and then I'm going to be motherless or childless, right? And so again, all these different fears, and then it's like, now that there's no connection, or let's say there's a lack thereof a connection, but we feel like, oh, well, they're going to stay with me because we have kids. Right? Or you're going to have to suck it up because you guys have kids now. Kid or kids, right? Multiples. And so we then say, okay, well, time will fix this. We'll just give them time to calm down, or the guy will say, or just give her some time. Oh, this is her. Just give her time or ignore. Or this was something that I've experienced, is that, let's say I'm in a mood or whatever, or it's that time of the month, right? It's like, oh, you guys stay away from your mom because it's that time of the month. She's going to bleed to death. And that was like the running joke. It was funny at first because, me and my sense of humor. But then after a while, it was like, now you're preparing your kids to, like, I don't know, maybe walk on eggshells or see me in a different light, right? Because I'm assuming every female goes through a menstrual period, right? Whether it's like regular or irregular. But the fact that, yes, we go through hormonal changes, and they're lucky that I didn't choke them out. That,
Yes.
but to tell your kids like, hey,
Right.
hey, watch out, right? Here comes the evil mother.
Oh my goodness.
So, and I also think that the other thing is like when you're, and I think this could also go with like anything dealing with healing, like, oh, time heals, like, oh, just, give it some time. Okay, well, time will keep going, but if we're still stuck in that toxic mentality,
Right, if you're not doing
thinking,
anything to improve.
yeah, time is just going to keep flying by,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing's going to change, right? Just like, who defines how much time that you're with someone before you fall in love, or that you can love somebody?
Yeah.
And on what level? Because there's different, would you agree there's different levels of love?
I think there's like, I don't know, levels. I think there's different types, and I think like, I was gonna say there's different commitment levels, but I think it's just as you're going through your relationship, the longer it lasts, I think it changes. Not that you don't love the person, but I think, well, I hope that you would come to understand that that you feel the love because you commit acts of service for the person, or they do it for you, or because you guys do it for each other. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where the love comes from, not from the butterflies or the first time you have sex or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's not where the love comes from. I don't know.
I wonder if guys feel love different than women. Like, where do you feel love?
I'd be like, I don't. No, I just think it's probably different. I think the process is probably different because women are thinkers and nurturers and stuff, and sometimes I think we overthink a lot of things, and so I'm not sure that, not that there's not men out there that overthink, but I think the majority are not overthinkers.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to have a guy come in a lot of the topics that we talked about, to give us their point of view of what they feel as a man and their experience. Right. We're gonna have to find some brave men that are willing to come and share it. And yeah, absolutely, we're gonna challenge them, because that happens respectfully, right? Because there was a friend of mine that had said, when we were talking about being with somebody, and how would you feel if you dated a female, right? You had a partner that made more money than you, and this was like so many episodes before, right? And he was like, oh no, that's a what do you call it? A no-go, right? That's a deal breaker.
Yes.
He has to be able to make more money than her. And then we're like, what? Like, why? Like,
what does it matter?
But in his head, he was saying, when he explained, is like, he sees himself as more traditional, like the man's to provide, right? Not, and he wasn't saying like the woman can't work and make her own money, but he wants to, if she makes more money, and his thought process is that he can't provide for her. But he could provide in other different ways. But that was his own thinking. Yeah, that was his own toxic thinking.
It was toxic thinking. Yes.
And then 2 days later, he's like, "Can I explain some more?" And I'm like, I'm like, explain what, right? And I already forgot about the conversation, because it wasn't a big deal. It was just a conversation. Let's challenge it, right? And I think that with guys, because they're so factual, like, I'm curious, like, how they view love, and where, like, do they feel love anywhere in their body? Like, I feel like sometimes when, like, let's say I love somebody, to me, like, I feel it in all my entire body. I don't know if that makes sense, or if you've ever felt that way, but it's like, oh, I just love them, like everything, my whole being loves them, right? And then there's other ones that I'm like, yeah, I love them, but right, it's like I didn't feel it everywhere. Right. I didn't get, whenever I seen them, I didn't get like the butterflies or whatever, or maybe I did, I don't know, but it was different.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, like, each person that I thought I loved,
Mhm.
right? And then compare it to my long-term relationship, the difference of the love that I felt for that person.
Right.
You know, I can only share what I believe how they love me because of how they showed me, but
Right.
to ask, you know, and even when you ask somebody, like, are they being honest? Like, oh, I love you because X, Y, Z. And do they say, I love you because of all the things that we do for them? Or the thing, or
I think, like, before you get to the point where you would say that you love somebody or they would love you, I think by that point you would have a pretty good idea about their character and
Mhm.
whether or not they would lie to you about something that's so important. Like, hopefully you would know a lot about just their character, like who they are as a person, and is this something that you normally see them do? Do they lie to get out of trouble, or do they lie to get their way, or
yeah.
and so hopefully we don't pick those people anymore. And so when they say something to us, I think at that point, if we don't believe them, that says more about us than it does about them.
Yeah.
Because they've already, like, not, I don't want to say proven like they're worthy, but they've already showed that they're dependable in their character. And so hopefully we're picking those people, and so we just have to let ourselves believe the good stuff. Because if someone says something bad to us, we're like, we're done. And not only that, but it's usually something we've already thought about ourselves, and so we hold it as truth. And then when someone says something good about us, we're like, are they lying? Like, we question
are
are they being honest?
And so thinking.
Yeah, so that goes back to, yes, just the way we think. And so not only what do we think about them, but also what do we think about ourselves. Yeah, and especially if it's a compliment that we think that we're not worthy to hear, then that's even harder to believe.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we go back to, like, our worth, right? Like, if you look back in your previous relationships, how did you come out of that? Did you feel like, oh, you know, he wasn't worthy of me, or, you know, I wasn't good enough for him, right? And sometimes I think we have to think about that, because even getting out of a relationship, we still have that toxic thinking, and not more so relief in terms of, I'm so glad I've closed this chapter in my life, that this person served whatever purpose and either taught me a lesson or showed me somebody who I don't want, or showed me what I'm capable of being able to do. Yeah, like, I'm okay walking away from this situation, or walking away from this person and not feeling like I have to depend on that person for happiness or love.
Right.
Or acceptance.
Acceptance, yeah.
Right? Because I'm thinking now, like, the exes that I've had before, and I'm like, so glad that happened. But then it taught me, like, this isn't the type of person I want, and I deserve better.
Yes.
And I am worthy of other things that they may have once told me I wasn't good enough.
Right.
Or that I would never find. Right? So when they say, oh, you'll never find a guy like me ever again, you're fucking right, because I'm not looking for that anymore. Right? I'm not going to be looking. Like, I'm going to fix my picker.
Oh my God. So one moment, because we can probably close it out, but one moment that I will never forget, that it should have been an aha moment for me, and it wasn't, because I was like, so fearful of not being married, or fearful of being divorced. So one time with my ex-husband, we got into an argument, and he took off his wedding ring and said, I will put it back on when you are worthy of having me. But that should have been, that should have been like an eye-opener for me, but instead, like, inside it created panic, because I had my son and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, now if someone says something to me, I mean, my response is very different now, but I had to do, like you said, you had to do some work. I had to do some work. But at the moment, I should have just, like, that should have been, like, that's enough, and, like, get out.
Yeah. But again, it's our tunnel vision, and then it's what I feel like our insecurities get heightened up, and like, ooh, red flag, alert.
Right.
You're not good enough. You you need to work on being worthy of that person, right? And this person
you
saying
need to
you're
change,
not. Yes,
you need to.
So it was us, instead of like us wanting to fix them, it was like, how do I fix myself for them, right? To meet their expectations versus like being the person that I want to be and like accomplishing whatever makes me feel like a great person and a good person worthy of no matter who comes in my life, right? Yeah. Versus like, now I gotta change for them, right? Because what was that one thing that we said early on is, do you love the person, or are you with someone and ignore the red flags because of the potential you view your partner to be, or something? I forget what how we had talked about in previous episodes, is like, are we looking at the potential of what our partner can be? Because again, that goes into like, I can fix them. Fantasy. Excuse me, fantasy. I can fix them, or they're telling us this is what what they want in a partner, and are we then trying to be those things when we're not? Yeah. Instead of just being ourselves and being like, if you like me how I am and what I have to offer, great. If not, then I can't meet those expectations, because then eventually I'll get found out, right? That this isn't you, because it's not going to be a pattern that you're going to create. It's going to be more unhealthy patterns. It's almost like saying a lie and then trying to cover up the lie, and you have to keep practicing the lie, because if not, then you're going to get caught, right? So then this is not your true self. So eventually that person will be like, you're not who I thought you were. Right. Well, of course not, because I'm trying to be molded to what I'm trying to create myself to be who you are. I'm trying to be worthy. Yes. All right. What do you think? Good time to close it out? Yes. All right. So just know that you are all very worthy of love and happiness within yourself. Is the first and foremost thing to do, is being able to find it within yourself, to be able to share that with others, and others to for you to be able to see those red flags and not have that tunnel vision. If you do have that tunnel vision and we dismiss the red flags, that doesn't make you a bad person. Sometimes we get caught in our fantasies or overthinking, toxic thinking,